So I'm getting ready to do another video. This one will be on yet another question by a retiree from the UFT Town Hall. Here's the question.
I'm a retiree, and I have a couple of questions about the proposed Medicare Advantage plan.
We don't have one right now.
No, I understand that. But when we first thought that we were going to have it, we talked about doctors not being aware of it. Now, what I'm asking is, not one of my providers, not one, knew anything about it when I asked them about it. This is when it was almost in the fait accompli. Now, if it does become the fait accompli, and we do get it, what is the union going to do so that we don't have to worry about convincing a provider that they're covered?
And so this was a really interesting question because this was one of the biggest complaints in our litigation, that many of our doctors, retirees live all over the country, that our providers in the beginning, either they were not familiar with what the plan was, they weren't familiar with the name of the insurance company because they merged two companies and created a name and called them the Alliance. It was a merger between Emblem Health and Blue Cross Blue Shield Anthem, and they called themselves the Alliance. No one knew what the hell that was. And then, of course, there were doctors that didn't really give a damn who they were. Once they realized it was a Medicare Advantage plan, even though it was a PPO, they didn't care. They weren't accepting it. So Medicare Advantage plans have networks. You have to use their doctors. If you don't use a network doctor, the booklet, the contract also required that you would be required, if the doctor didn't even accept payment from them, that you would have to pay the doctor up front, submit the bill for reimbursement. But when you submit the bill for reimbursement, you're actually asking them to approve it for medical necessity. If they don't deem it medically necessary, you don't get reimbursed. We don't have that problem in traditional Medicare. The doctor accepts Medicare, they bill Medicare. 96% of the doctors in the United States of America accept Medicare. The 4% that don't, mostly are psychiatrists. Versus the Alliance's Medicare Advantage plan, which had only like 640,000 doctors out of the full 880,000 around the country. So it's like about a 25% change of doctors that would not accept their plan. That is in the court record. It's an admission by the city. The city further admitted that 10% of retirees' current physicians wouldn't accept the plan either. And those were only the 10% that they were admitting were not in the plan. But here's the key. He says he's going to give you an answer regarding the network. Listen to this.
Yeah, it's a really valid question because this is one of the biggest problems that we had. And while we were sitting with the company and they were showing us, the doctor when you guys informed us, we brought the names right to the company. And they're like, what are you talking about? The doctor's in the network. I'm like, the doctor doesn't know they're in the network. So they're telling our member that they're not in the network and they don't want to be in the network when you already have them in the network. So that was one of the most frustrating issues of the original rollout.
It goes deeper than that, Michael. So here's the deal. And I said this, I think, yesterday or the day before. Just because they're in the Anthem network or the network, whatever company's network, the company offers dozens of products. They are in that network, but they don't have to accept all of their products. So what was happening was, not only was, yes, point one, most of the doctors that we did get that specific complaint on, that they either didn't know about the plan, they didn't know about the Alliance, they never heard of it before, and they never heard of the Medicare Advantage Plus plan, New York City plan. But once we got them all the information, and as well as did the city and the Alliance, that this was a Medicare Advantage plan PPO, they said, oh, stop right there. We're not accepting Medicare Advantage plans. But it's a PPO. Nope, we don't really care what it is. It's a Medicare Advantage plan. We're not accepting Medicare Advantage plans. Period. So what happened was the city of New York and the Alliance attorneys argued, but they're in the network, but they're in the network. And the doctors were saying, we don't really care. Yes, we're in the network, but we're not taking that product. So this is where we learned. We have retirees that are retired New York City physicians, New York City retirees. And they said, yes, you could be in the network. They offer a lot of plans. I accept Blue Cross Blue Shield. But you get to choose which products you want to accept. You don't want to accept HMOs? You have to fill out the opt-out form. You don't want to take HMOs. You don't want to take Medicare Advantage plans? Click off, you don't want to take any Medicare Advantage plans. You could opt out of whatever you don't want to accept. Period. So they're in the network by the company, but they don't have to accept that product.
Because the network had expanded, as I said before, the goal was to expand the size of our network nationwide. The network had expanded, but the company didn't do its due diligence.
Well, what network expanded? Medicare eligible retirees? They have no networks. We have an open plan, can see any doctor that accepts Medicare. What it did expand the network for was non-Medicare eligible retirees. But this plan wouldn't really have covered them. So it really didn't expand anything. This plan would have only been for Medicare eligible people. It didn't expand any network for anyone. He's comparing a Medicare Advantage plan to a plan for non-Medicare people. And that's comparing, I think he said, apples to bowling balls, Joe Usach said last week. Makes no sense. You got to compare apples to apples.
To inform all of its physicians that this was coming and they would be in it. So we can't, if we're going to move forward, that can't happen again. It just cannot happen. Which is why, when you asked me this question, back to what I was presenting, the fact that now we have lists of every doctor that we currently use, all city workers. I know and I know who's in, and there's lists to say who's in network, who's out of network. Thankfully, 95% would, right now, if we move forward, would be in the network we got there with this company. But to me, 5% is not acceptable. And, we still have more to do. To me, now, if we move forward.
Well, and I'm really glad to hear that, because it was at least 10% of our current physicians, but 25% of all physicians, the last plan, and you accepted that one.
Would be in the network we got there with this company, but to me, 5% is not acceptable. And, we still have more to do. And look, no matter what, we've always had doctors who were never in network. Every plan we have doctors who are not in network. On the Medicare side, we just need to say to them, because the majority of people on the Medicare side, they don't belong to any network. What they do is they charge the patient, say if you went in for a procedure and they were not in the network, but they were Medicare, they charge the patient. You get to send that bill into the company for reimbursement. So what we would try to do at that point is, look, if you just don't want to ever belong to a network, which we have physicians who feel that way strongly, we say, fine, just do us a favor. We can guarantee you the reimbursement will come within 30 days of the bill being submitted. Would you at least not charge the member? But again, I want to get 99%. I know you can never get 100% of people in network. There's no such thing. Unless you have a closed network, then you can only go to the people who are in the network.
And you're never going to get that, Michael. I mean, that's a pipe dream. Because if there's ever inherently these issues, because again, doctors don't want these Medicare Advantage plans because they're riddled with prior authorizations. They become hurdles to the doctor being able to provide care to their patients. And then you're requiring that an insurance company use this process to tell the physician that they can't do a test or a procedure that they feel you need. This is a problem.
And that's not something I want to do. But especially because Medicare gives us more flexibility and the rates are federally set, so it's not like the doctor can say, well, you might reimburse this, but I'm going to charge more. We can't do that. It's not legal. So that's where I'd be looking to go. But the goal really would be to get 98, 99% of all the physicians we currently utilize inside of the network, and then talk to the others. Because, yeah, there are some really high-utilized doctors in Long Island. Not a lot. As they said, we're over 95% right now as we move forward. We just finished the second iteration of what is known as a disruption analysis, where we're looking at the exact thing you're talking about. But if we do all of this work, then we have to make sure that that company has a period of time when they're informing everyone that this is the plan for New York City retirees. You are in network and they are accepted. And those who aren't in network, let's have a conversation about, wouldn't it be easier just to join the network since you're going to get the money one way or the other. So that would be the goal. But again, we don't have it. But I hope that helps you. Yes, very frustrating what happened. Very frustrating, especially since we knew that so many of the doctors who were saying, oh, no, I don't take that. They didn't even know what it was, so therefore they didn't take it because it wasn't in existence yet. But we already knew from the company that they were in the network.
But not really. They could be in the network again still, but they don't have to take the plan. And even if they did take the plan, if they weren't happy with the way the plan worked, or the hurdles of prior authorization, or the paperwork, or any issue, even the reimbursement issue, then they could drop out and we're still without our physicians. You don't usually see that in Medicare. And there's never the risk that we would have to worry about doctors not being funded, doctors not being paid, doctors not being reimbursed. And I'm not quite sure how you're going to guarantee that they're paid within 30 days. City of New York can't even pay workers' comp claims today in 30 days. So I don't know how you're going to get that paid in 30 days. And then the doctors, if there start to be reimbursement issues, they're just not going to see you. They're not going to accept the insurance. You're putting a big burden on a what if. So there's your next question.